The Mavs list, let's call it the Mavs list mayhem. Dude, yeah. What is going on? Emergency pod, which we haven't done in quite a long time.
No, literally, like this is the definition of an emergency podcast. If we ever did an emergency podcast, this is it. This is the most earth-shattering emergency podcast we have ever had in the Driving Dish NBA podcast. I'm gonna go out on the ledge and say that right now.
Luka is essentially swapping some Texas barbecue for some Hollywood vegan dish that I don't even know about.
So disrespectful to LA's Mexican food, man. That's crazy. You can't even get that man at a taco truck.
Nah, dude, because when I went out there, it was all vegan food. But also we were going to like vegan places, so that would explain a lot of it. Although Hollywood Burger on Hollywood Boulevard wasn't horrible. It was actually the cheapest thing we could find, which explains it was probably not the greatest place to eat, but it was a good time while we were out there. Luka, you will enjoy it. Just kind of, it also smells like pee and pot. So,
yo, you stepped out on the ledge of Disney last episode. You're stepping out on the ledge of LA right away. I kind of love it. You're getting a little feisty. Definitely a lot of pot though, for sure. I mean, low-key New York is like that too. I that sounded like such a Fox News thing when I heard it at first. Where I'm like, there's no way. I stepped out of Penn Station last time, and I was like, holy crap, dude.
Hey, yeah, dude. Lancaster, we were in Lancaster for a wedding, and it was like that, all in like the little downtown area. Walking around, you're like, geez, dude, like what's going on here? So either way, let's backtrack, because Luka is now on the Lakers. Anthony Davis is now on the Mavericks. I didn't even think this was an option.
No one did. No one
happened. Like, could you imagine? I know there was a joke about it. Could you imagine that phone call? Like they call up the Mavs being like, "Hey, we want," or I guess the Mavs call the Lakers is like, "Yo, we want Anthony Davis," and the Lakers like, probably not going to happen. They're like, "We'll send you Luka," and it's like, "Okay, he'll be there tomorrow." Like you do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfathomable. It's one of those phone calls that if I'm Rob Pelinka, and I'm sure he did, I would have tried to get this submitted to the league office so fast that I wouldn't have had, it would have been record time. I would have sprinted down to the league office. I'd have found a way. I'd have chartered a private jet, whatever it may take. Like that would have been the play. It is like, I'm trying to not to over exaggerate, but it's hard not to. I think this might be the most shocking trade in NBA history. Like there is no plan. If you had told me when we recorded Saturday who truly was untouchable in the league, I might have only had 2 or 3 players, but Luka was definitely one of them. Like Luka, Wemby, maybe SGA, maybe Jokic still. I mean, but even Jokic is older now. So like untouchable is truly like, yeah, I mean, here we are. So, I mean, let's just obviously break it down right away. Like Luka Donicic is going to LA along with Maxi Kleber. The Jazz, I almost started it by saying the Jazz got Jaden Hood-Schifino, and like that's our big breaking news. But they got 2 second rounders as well. Shout out to Danny Ainge for just being an addict and getting in on that. I kind of respect that, and credit to him too, to getting 2 second rounders out of nothing.
Right.
Mavericks in return, of course, get Anthony Davis. They get Max Christie, and they get a first-round pick. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. But I guess my starting point is that I think Nico Harrison should be shipped to Mars immediately. And I think the Mavericks should be borderline relegated to, I was going to say Australia, but Australia is nice. I don't want to send them to Australia. I want to send them to like
Antarctica.
I don't know. Wait, where?
Antarctica.
Yeah, Antarctica is a great place for him. Let's just send him there. Like, this is an unfathomable bad move by the Mavericks. Like, I can't understand. Listen, I'm going to put my fan hat on for a second. I have seen the Sixers do some heinous things over the past decade. It's not even close to this. Like, if I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan and I woke up and just said, I don't want to root for the team anymore, I get it. There are many situations that make me say that, but like, I think there is one scenario for me, where this works out for Dallas. You got to win a title. Like, straight up, you have to win the title in the next year or two.
But do they have even a chance now?
I mean, so the one thing that has been said here, I don't want to act like Anthony Davis is some
sure.
Like, I feel like that there is some important context there, is that they traded for Anthony Davis. They didn't trade for like some random dude off the bench. Like, Anthony Davis is one of the best defensive players in the league. we've seen him be a key part of a title team, winning that last title with the Lakers. Like, we know what it is at this point. Anthony Davis is 32 years old. He's injured right now.
Yep.
He tends to miss a lot of time. And, again, I like Max Christie as much as the next guy, but like, we just saw Mikal Bridges get 5 first-rounders over the summer. Rudy Gobert got 4. We just got De'Aaron Fox, who we're going to talk about a little bit, get 3 as well in the trade with him.
And I guess what I wanted to ask you is, what are some centers or players that play a similar position as Anthony Davis that you would consider better that teams probably would have parted with if you approached them with Luka?
I think you could have gotten a decade's worth of first-round picks if you approach teams with Luka. Like, that's why this is so unforgivable to me. Is that
but I'm saying you could have done that and probably gotten it like just I guess injuries kind of say like if they went to the Sixers with 4 Embiid,
I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I would have same deal as Rob Pelinka. I sprinted down to the league office.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that I think Embiid's better than Anthony Davis, but I'm just saying from a similar standpoint, like
you could have made a case to me that Luka is the most valuable trade commodity in the NBA, and I would have believed you.
Do you think if they approached the Nuggets for Jokic, they would have done it?
No. Jokic is the best player in the league right now.
That's probably the only player.
Yeah, you have to
maybe.
But that's what I'm saying. It's that caliber of player. Like, we're talking, Luka Donicic is what, a top 3 player in the league right now? He averaged 33, 9, and 9, and I know he's missed some time this year.
Not even an all-star this year. So
the Mavs spin has already started. They're already doing the, we're worried about the Supermax, even though Luka said he'd sign it and apparently was looking at real estate. It said he
bought a house. No, hold on. I saw an article saying that he bought a house.
And he was like, the point is, even in the going away statement, he said that he wanted to be here, and I'm inclined to believe him. He's 25 years old. You just made the finals last year. Like, you literally just are off an NBA finals appearance. And oh, by the way, before Luka got hurt, you looked pretty darn good. Like, you looked like you had a pretty fair shot of running it back. Like, a few injuries here and there. Gafford, has dealt with some time being out. But listen, this roster is equipped to win. And, they still are now to an extent. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say the Mavericks are going to plummet off a cliff this season with Anthony Davis. You still got Kyrie. I think Kyrie and Anthony Davis, if they stay healthy, actually can play together pretty well. Like, that combo makes sense.
Sure.
There's a reason why they tried to get AD in Boston back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big, I get it. This is insane. It's unfathomably harmful. And that's the word I just keep coming back to. Like, you just don't trade guys like this. Like, there are franchises, like, I don't know that the Sixers in our lifetime, Joel's the only one that's close, but like, I don't know if we've ever had a player as good as Luka Donicic is. Like, franchises don't get players that good that often.
No, not through trade like that.
And especially too, like, and I think the loyalty part is where this hurts as well, because like Luka was drafted with being this heir apparent to Dirk. We obviously know how much Dirk Nowitzki, the greatest Maverick of all time, spent his entire career there. He was set up to be that replacement. So like, the bond that they formed in those seasons, like, they rode for each other. Like, that fan base was dedicated to Luka. Credit to the Mavs. They took the swing initially when teams were unfathomably passing on him in the draft as well. Somehow we might have a transaction involving Luka that might be worse than that. If anything, again, the lesson here is in the NBA, truly anything is possible. Nothing is safe. It's just like, I'm just still in shock. Like, I can't believe that. And for the Lakers, obviously, like, this is a coup. Like, there's no way around it. The Lakers now, you have your heir apparent to LeBron for the next decade.
You're done. Yeah, you're set. You don't even,
And like, everybody hates on them for this, but like, dude, it's true. Lakers exceptionalism is absolutely real. This franchise quietly during our time running this podcast hasn't really been that good. They haven't managed anything that well. It doesn't matter. LeBron's still signed there. He chose to go there in free agency. They win the title. Now you just stumble into Luka. Like,
I saw someone post, I will never get on Lakers fans for posting these outrageous trades on social media because they forever will be able to get them done. And I am sorry.
Yeah,
it's true, man.
It's right. Like, all those photoshops of like Giannis and Wemby, and listen, I get him. It's hard to argue with their cockiness right now, the way this is all played out.
Yeah,
the double insult to me, if I'm a Mavs fan, is not just trading somebody as talented as Luka Donicic is, and telling that we got to have defense and trying to do this whole, like, we're worried about his weight and they're saying they were worried about him being an Embiid risk. Like, get out of here. Like, what are we talking about?
He is what weight were they saying?
He's bigger. They're saying he was close to 270.
Yeah, and that is surprising. Again, not a reason to trade him, but I was surprised when I saw that number.
He's elevated in the playoffs. Like, look, there's always been little things about his conditioning. That's fine. We know his defense is kind of points, but
and put it this way, like just 270 is crazy if that's actually what it's at, because I'm looking at because I was going to draw this comparison. If you look at the 21-22 Dallas Mavericks, right? That's the year Jalen Brunson was there. That's the year Luka was doing his thing too. He's listed at 230 for that year. So that's a lot of weight increase. Again, I'm not saying that that's like a legit thing. I think they just put that out there to put that out there, but that is a decent amount more weight to be putting on.
Yeah, sure. Like, you don't trade guys like this.
No,
like, you just don't do it. Like, it doesn't happen. You don't do it. It's, again, I'm like struggling to put the words together because I don't, like, this is just such a new world that we live in. It's really, really crazy. I mean,
the fact that it was relayed via a voicemail too was kind of wild.
Well, and I can understand why Luka didn't want to pick up and talk to Nico Harrison. Like, I'd be pretty crazy about that as well.
The report from Chandler Parsons is that he had just apparently bought this $15 million house in Dallas last week, and so when he found out, apparently Luka did cry when he found out that he was being traded.
I mean, his dad is the one who came out and just said he didn't deserve this, and it's like, it's hard to blame them. Like, you can want to. And that's the nasty part of it, right? Is that they're going to start to, like, question Luka's health and they're going to do all this. But, like, the double whammy for me, again, is that he's going to sign the Supermax and he's not going to lose any value. He's Luka Donicic. Like, you still can go out there next summer and get this king's ransom, have all these brilliant players coming in.
Mm-hmm. Who's not going to want to go to the Lakers now to play the last few years with LeBron, get in with Luka, and potentially go win it all?
Bron's playing until he's 45 now. Like, that's what's crazy is, like, you thought the retirement signs might be there. Bron can just, because, the thing is now is Luka's going to be the bigger facilitator than LeBron will be.
LeBron can chill a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. LeBron can definitely chill a little bit. I think that it'll allow him to play kind of that quasi Draymond Green role that we saw him play during the Olympics, which will obviously help him age more gracefully. And that's the other part too of all this is it's like, because they only gave up one first round pick, they still have another pick. They can go out and make this roster better. Like, there are going to be short-term differences in this Lakers squad, right? Like, this Lakers team in recent weeks had really kind of rallied around defense. They were tough to play. They're going to take a step back with Luka on the floor. And, like, when you lose an anchor the way Anthony Davis is, like, that does matter. Who cares? It's Luka Donicic. Like, you just change your window entirely. And to be quite honest, like, I don't think the Lakers were going to get over the top anyway. So, I mean, yeah, right now you have a team that's now set to, if you do this right, can contend for the next 10, 15 years. So, I mean, and for the Mavericks, that's the other part of it where you have, 2 years, 3 years with Anthony Davis? Like, that this title window is really open. Like, when you look at him, when you look at Kyrie, when you look at Clay, like, that is an older roster now. And I mean, it is kind of ironic. I guess Anthony Davis gets his wish. Like, he gets to play with a more traditional center now. He'll get to play with Gafford and with Lively and all these guys. But, he had made those comments before the deadline. But, yeah, I mean, I don't need to mince words about this. Like, I think this is going to be one of the worst trades in NBA history. I think this is is catastrophic failure for Dallas. I think the only way you can justify it is you got to win the title. That's it.
And they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to. No,
I don't,
like, build around defense. And, like, if Anthony Davis was 28, I'd be a lot less harsh on this. But, like, you can't tell me you're concerned about Luka being on the floor and then you go out and trade for Anthony Davis, a guy who is kind of known for not being on the floor.
Yeah. Well, and so I guess it does lead us in a little bit into one of the things I sent you, the fan conspiracy theory about the Mavs moving to Vegas and trying to kill any fandom that there would be for the Mavs so that they could make the move.
Yeah, I just think that's a little too deep-seated, to be honest. Like, why? Because you can, like, the whole theory behind that is that they're going to move the Mavs to Vegas and then put another franchise in Dallas. But, like, why would you have all that bad PR to do that? Like, it just doesn't really make sense.
Well, it's all based off that ownership group wanting to be able to put a casino or sports betting in the arena. And so it was like them going back and forth with the government in Texas being allowed to do it, and the government's not letting them. Again, according to the conspiracy, so they said, "All right, we're just going to kill all the fandom for the Mavs, who were literally holding funerals in front of the Mavs stadium the other day." And then by 2030 there'll be no interest in this. Tickets will be $5 to go, and we'll have an argument to be like, we're gonna move to Vegas, or let us do it here and we'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, and if that's the way it goes, so be it, but that's just a lot.
It's aggressive as hell.
It's super aggressive, and look, I mean, I think we know how Mark Cuban feels about it. He had no comment. And I mean, he previously had said on the record, if it's between keeping Luka on the Mavs or getting a divorce with my wife, I'm going to the courthouse and getting a divorce with my wife. So, yeah, I mean, if Cuban's in charge, I don't think this happens.
Well, and that's part of it, right? And I do wonder if he saw a little bit of that coming down the line and why he got out of the majority ownership side of the things. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it reeks of that we're just going to make money, so we don't care that much whether we win, which is fatal for a lot of franchises, and that's what stinks. If you get a billionaire that's a bad person, which we could have a whole other podcast about that, but yeah, I mean, ownership matters. It's the most competitive advantage in sports. We've said that the last few times, and right now, the fact that they kind of signed off on this, like, the Lakers didn't think this was real. Nico Harrison admitted that on the record. Like,
yeah, I didn't.
How do you not shop around?
When you sent it to me, I didn't think it was real.
I mean, bro, I woke up, so like, as you can kind of hear in my voice a little bit, I've been dealing with on and off like this kind of sickness the last few days, and so I took NyQuil on Saturday night or whenever this happened, and so I was out, and I wake up and I'm like, I got 3 missed calls. Chase left me a voicemail at like 1 a.m. They had like a whole emergency group chat for it. Like, and I'm just like looking, I'm like, what on earth? And I looked at it. I said, I'm sorry, Luka, like, it's crazy. Shams had to clarify he wasn't hacked. That has never happened before. Like, I don't know, man. This is a foundational shaking day in the NBA. Like we said, I mean, it's going to truly, from the pure shock factor, I don't know a more shocking move in NBA history. And that's really saying something.
Do you think it's one that Adam Silver should have stepped in and denied?
I didn't have a chance. They got to everybody did it. Apparently they did this all in secret. And again, that's just my biggest issue with this.
That's the weirdest part.
My biggest issue with this is that you have one of the most valuable players in the NBA, and you didn't even negotiate with anybody else, which, like, cool. I guess you did right by Luka and you sent him to LA, a destination that he seems pretty interested in playing in and guys seem interested in playing in. But like, who cares? He wanted to stay. You did right by him. You didn't get a proper offer. So like, that's a double whammy of nonsense from the Mavericks. I don't know. It's tough. Like, and again, the Mavericks have won a title in our lifetime. They won in 2011, but I would really struggle like rooting for that team next year. And it's a shame for the guys that are still there because, like, they have a bunch of good players. They're not going to fall off a cliff, but it's a huge middle finger to the fan base, I think.
Do you think, because now the talk is that the Lakers, again, it's a rumor, should trade LeBron to get even more young assets?
No, I mean, I don't know what LeBron's market is right now, and I think you just can't do it. If they were going to trade LeBron, it would have happened this past summer, and they would have sent him to Golden State to go play with Steph.
Yep.
Like, Rich Paul already vetoed it. LeBron's going to veto it. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
So I get it, but no, I don't think you overthink this. I think you have LeBron James play next to Luka Donicic, and you go, and more importantly, from Luka, how many times, like, we've seen LeBron get the best out of some of these guys. Like, Luka's been a noted fan of LeBron. He's raved about him frequently. I feel like this is what you do. You get him in there, you work him out with the GOAT. I feel like that's going to set you up well in the future. Like, I don't think, like, sure, could you necessarily make the roster better now? I guess if you move LeBron, but like, would you? That's kind of a more of a future move. And I don't think you're ready to fully kick it into future mode when you have LeBron James.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I just go back to the listen, if the Luka thing can surprise everybody, it wouldn't surprise me if something else happens. I mean, how many more days until the trade deadline's over? But geez, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything can top this. I truly don't. Like, unless the Spurs just get drunk one night and trade Wemby.
That'd be crazy. Well, we can, and we'll talk about De'Aaron Fox and all that stuff in a later episode. But
I forget who it was, and I wish I'd give them credit, but somebody tweeted the Timberwolves and was like, Paul George for Anthony Edwards, you up?
that'd be great, actually.
We're just fishing out there and doing anything. And we'll have more Luka react.
By the way, you just reminded me. Someone tried to actually do the Luka trade in NBA 2K, and you can't. It won't let you do it.
It's insane. Like, it's not even just that. It's not getting the first back. It's egregious. And we'll talk more about it on the full episode and all that, but it is truly one of the most shocking days in NBA history. And Nico Harrison is an actual war criminal in Dallas and should maybe be prosecuted. All right. The other major trade that did happen, we talked about a little bit last episode, is De'Aaron Fox. Three-way deal. The Spurs get De'Aaron Fox, which is a destination that we talked about, obviously, in depth, as well as Jordan McLaughlin. The Chicago Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 first-round pick. You know, they had to get that back from the Spurs. The Kings get Zach Lavine, Sidi Kosoko, the 2025 first-round pick from the Hornets, a 2027 from the Spurs, a 2031 first from the Timberwolves, and then 3 second-round picks, 1 in 25, 2 in 2028. So obviously, yeah, a lot of moving pieces here. It's a three-way trade. I have 2 winners and I have 1 big loser. I feel like you know which way I'm trending with that. The big loser is Chicago. Chicago had Zach Lavine, they had Nick Vucevic, they had DeMar DeRozan, and they just didn't really, and Alex Caruso, and they didn't really get anything for it. Like, they basically got a bunch of guys who aren't going to be there. And, you know, maybe you trade Kobe White and you are able to recoup a little bit more. But I mean, otherwise, like, it's just bad asset management again, which is something that I think we've come to expect from the Bulls at this point. Namely the Caruso trade over the summer, I thought was just horrendous on their end.
Well, yeah, and I think the move, like you kind of alluded to, but at least gets the first rounder back to the Bulls. It gives them a little more flexibility, you know, and gives them more than, I guess, what they had wasn't doing anything anyway, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, but it's also like you got to pay to get your own pick back. Like, that's kind of crazy. That does look wild in hindsight. For the Spurs and the Kings, I mean, the Spurs, yeah, I like this a lot. Obviously, you didn't really give up anything. Like, you gave up picks, but I think keeping Castle for them was huge. They didn't give up any of their core guys, I guess, what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, Castle was, obviously you're not moving Wemby, but Castle was the other one who I think players were looking at. You go out and get De'Aaron Fox, you know, you still have Chris Paul, you can, you know, play them together. I think Fox being able to slash and Wemby being able to do his thing will be a good little 2-man game there. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like it for the Kings too, honestly, like going out and get Zach Lavine, because the Kings were going to be in a situation if they traded De'Aaron Fox where you're either just going to go full in the rebuild, but that's kind of weird because you got DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis, right? So you're not really blow it up, fully go in the tank team at this point.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be that competitive if you lose De'Aaron Fox either. Like, you're not really going to win anything of note and of purpose. Getting Zach Lavine keeps that window open. I think they need another forward still, probably. They're a little light there. I do think they'll take a step back defensively with Lavine. But at the same time, like, he and DeMar DeRozan have a lot of familiarity together, obviously, from their time in Chicago. I think Lavine can play that ball handler role a little bit. I
wonder what their picks turn into. I'm just reading here, the 2025 first round pick from Charlotte is top 14 protected. And then it becomes 2 second round picks in 26, 27. So that most likely will happen. And then the 27 from San Antonio, probably, I mean, San Antonio at that point would probably be pretty damn good. You would think a few more years of Wemby and Fox. And then who knows, Wolves wise with 2031, that's a toss up at this point. But at least the immediate picks get you more assets, which might be what you're actually looking for, depending on how you want to go about it.
Yeah, and I mean, the picks are definitely a little the 2025 first rounder for the Hornets is protected, or it would be really, really good, obviously. And so I think that's a little tough when it's top 14. It'll probably push another year.
Well, no, that's the thing. That pops in, that turns into 2 second round picks if it doesn't happen this year. So that's where I'm like, well, you're not getting the first round. It's not just
No, you're right. That is a little bit of a fake first rounder in that sense. The 2027 pick with the Spurs will be fine, though. Who knows what the Spurs look like in 27? I think that's the deal there. Yeah. The other one's in 31, which again, it's a long way away. I mean, I still think that matters. Like, it's the Minnesota pick. Who knows what on earth Minnesota is going to be in 6 years from now? But yeah, I mean, that's definitely like, that's not something that's going to help you win now unless you package it as part of something else.
And
But I
that's
still think, again, it's about building that chest and looking forward ahead a little bit
well,
too.
and I think that's probably what at least 2031 most likely will be used as some kind of trade bait, in getting someone or some
Yeah.
asset that you're trying to do.
They need a wing. I think that's the biggest thing they need for sure. Again, maybe another ball handler, but I think Lavine can do that. Like Malik Monk is going to be the main one there. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know, because it's like the Fox trade too. If you moved Hallie, I think would have been an extra disaster if you lost them both. Even though Hallie got flipped for Sabonis, which I don't think is a bad deal necessarily. It just keeps that contention open. Like the Kings are in a good spot right now for playing position. Um, they're definitely seem to be. I mean, the Warriors don't feel like they're going anywhere fast, and now Jimmy's apparently taken himself out of that conversation, which again we'll talk about a little later on down the line. But I mean, the Kings right now, as of recording this, are 24-24. They're right at the mark, but again, they're a game behind the Mavericks, they're a game behind the Suns, you're 2.5 behind the Timberwolves. Like they can get back out of play in position here pretty quick, unless the Spurs surge in the second half, which with De'Aaron Fox they could. So I wouldn't want to rule that out either. Realistically, it's going to be them and Dallas and Golden State and San Antonio kind of fighting for that last spot. So you just got to find a way to make that happen. But I think picking up Lavine can get that done.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. The Athletic, some comments below from people talking about this trade. Patrick says Bulls are depressing. Paul says it's worth mentioning that Malik Monk has always been an underrated facilitator, even stepped up this year. Monk arguably plays point guard better than Fox, who has never seemed like one. With Sabonis as a primary playmaker, DeRozan and Lavine as secondary playmakers, Kings will be fine here. And then Ralph says the Bulls essentially got their candy back from a bully. The ownership is a joke.
Yeah, I mean, no, it is. It really is. Like the Bulls are poorly run. They've been a travesty for the better course of a decade. Like again, they're not quite Dallas. And it's crazy with Dallas. You know what the most crazy part is? I even gave them props for how they built that finals team last year. Like I thought they finally had done a good job of, building that roster to get them over the top. Because a lot of things, the other dunk is that people will talk about is Jalen Brunson, right? And while I get it, and I think that it is, letting Brunson walk in hindsight probably wasn't that great. You also traded for Kyrie Irving. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there and say, hey, you kind of righted that wrong by going out and getting Kyrie. Sure. Now, could you have just had Brunson and Luka?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You didn't have to go out and fix the wrong to begin with. You probably could have went and gotten someone else to add to those two. Imagine if you had that right now. You had Brunson and Luka, and you had, at this point, a few years of it, so it works. Players would want to come play with that. You probably have you'd be able to get some players and probably a third potential like star on there.
Well, the other question too is it people have to go back in hindsight, and like if Brunson wanted to go to New York, keeps going to New York.
I agree.
Like it was definitely there
also,
too.
Yeah, I mean it's just I still don't think it's real half the time. So
no, I mean it's hard to believe what happens in the NBA. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The most probably entertaining in terms of drama in all of American sports. I mean, just like you could have drained my whole bank account on Saturday if you bet me that Luka Donicic was going to get traded. I would have said, what are you on? Like, what are we? Like you said, that trade couldn't even happen in 2K. It's just the NBA. It never fails. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this special midweek emergency podcast of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. We're going to be back with a full episode, of course. We're well balling and falling and immaculate grid and all that. Some more reacts. Again, we're still waiting on Jimmy Butler. We're still waiting on Cam Johnson, which, again, these feel real minuscule in comparison to what's happened these past few days now. But in the meantime, leave us a review on iTunes. Good or bad, I'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And follow us on YouTube. We do video versions of the podcast. Obviously, you can subscribe. You'll get notifications when new episodes are coming out, which are weekly.